What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to do an efficient high skin fade. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to set our canvas with our number 2 guard, and today we're actually going to be using a fading down technique again to prioritize efficiency while still remaining high quality. We're going to go ahead, you guys can see we're starting with our lever open and slowly closing it and going right under where we went with our 2 guard. And you guys will also notice I'm doing quite a big flick at the top to blend straight into the hair on top. Now at the end of this cut, we're going to go ahead with clipper over comb to kind of really clean that up and make that as smooth as possible. But to make our life easier, we're going to try to blend that with the clipper as we're doing the fade as much as we can. So you guys can see I'm just going with the number 2 closed over it again just to make sure everything is the same length. And one big tip I always give for efficiency is if you have a beard client, do it at the same time, right? So when I have a guard on my clipper, or if I have a machine in my hand, I try to do as much with that guard or machine as I can. So you guys are going to notice throughout the haircut, I'm going to do the beard all at the same time rather than doing the haircut and then starting the beard, because then I'm going to be putting on and taking off the same guards multiple times, which again, if you're prioritizing for efficiency, is a waste of time. Now going into our lower guard, which is our number 1 guard, I don't use a 1.5 guard when it comes to my Andis guards. I just don't really feel the need. And you guys can see here, I'm going in with my 1 guard open, going kind of right under where we went with that 2 close. And you guys can see when we get to where that 2 was, I'm doing quite an exaggerated flick. I know it looks to you guys like I'm going all the way up, but if you actually look at it from the side, I'm doing a pretty exaggerated flick. And now we've gone ahead and closed the clipper and gone again right under where that number 1 open was. And we're going to keep doing this, you'll see, with our lower guards as well. But you guys can see here, I'm even using my corners of my blade a little bit to make sure that it's kind of coming to life and blending properly. And again, like I said before, when I have the guard on my clipper, I'm going to get the absolute most use out of it. So you guys can see I'm actually going ahead and doing the fade on the beard while I have my number 1 guard. So we're kind of doing a reverse, or we're fading down on the head, and then we're kind of fading up on the beard, which is typically the opposite of what you would do. So once we have that done, I'm going to go ahead with my Babyliss Black FX, and I'm going to go ahead and set my bald line. It's also important to notice, you guys see I'm again doing the beard bald line as well at the exact same time, again for maximum efficiency. It's also important to notice, you guys, that when I'm setting my bald line, I'm not setting a hard line, the way you would do with a lineup on the head. I'm just flicking up. This way I'm setting a much softer line, which is going to be easier for me to take out. Now my clippers are all 0 gap, so even if I did it the other way, I still would be able to take the line out, but I want to kind of stack the chips in my favor, right? I want to have as many advantages as possible, and setting a softer bald line is one of those advantages. It's also very important, as you guys can see, to make sure you're getting all those little hairs around the ears. I've seen barbers time and time again forget to get these hairs, and clients, trust me man, notice these things. So make sure when you're doing your bald line, make sure you're getting as clean of a line as possible, and make sure you're getting all the hairs around the ear, around the neck as well. So once I've made sure that my bald line is nice and clean, I'm happy with the line, I'm going in with my shaver, which today I'm using a Bronze Series 9. It is probably my favorite shaver to use, especially on higher fades and thicker hair. It is so freaking powerful. If you guys haven't tried it, I highly recommend doing so. It's a little bit on the pricier side, especially if you're getting the charging and cleaning stand. But man, this has been an absolute game changer for me for years. And if you guys know me, you guys know I'm all about efficiency and giving high quality haircuts in the most efficient way possible. And this has helped knock at least a few minutes off of my haircut times, especially when I'm doing those higher fades on thicker hair. Next, we're going ahead with our 0 guard, which in the Andis terms is the 0 guard, but in wall terms it would be the 0.5, so the 1/16th guard. And as you guys can see, again, I'm going right under where we went with that number 1 closed and flicking out as I get to it. Again, you see from the front here, it looks like I'm going all the way up with this guard, but in reality I'm just flicking, right? This flick out motion is absolutely key when it comes to cutting with efficiency, and if you're looking to skip guards, having that flexibility in your flick out motion is absolutely crucial. One of the ways I really practiced this as a beginner is whenever I wasn't doing anything, if I was watching TV or something, I would make sure I have my clipper and I would just do exaggerated flicks kind of in the air to really get my hand and wrist used to the motion. And you guys can see here again, I'm going in with my 0.5 guard and fading the beard as well while it's on my clipper. Again, maximizing efficiency, making sure that I'm doing everything I can with the tool in my hand so that I don't have to pick it back up again. Now, finally, I'm going ahead with my no guard, lever play. I'm starting, closed, and I'm moving up and opening the lever as I need to, especially using the corners of my blade as I go higher, just to make sure I'm detailing that fade as I'm taking out that line. And you guys can see the fade is really starting to come to life. If you guys, I know a lot of newer barbers haven't tried the Andis Masters or maybe haven't even heard of them, but I'll give you guys an example. The Andis Masters, when they're fully open, they're actually a number 1, right? They're not a 0.5. So that actually also helps when doing this fading down system and trying to skip guards, because I don't have to right now take out a 0.5 or take out a number 1 guard to detail the fade. I can just open up my clipper all the way or use the corners of the blade to get pretty high into that fade in terms of detailing. And as you guys can see, again, I'm using a lot of that exaggerated flick out motion. That is absolutely key in all of my fades. That is how I'm able to cut more efficiently. And there are even times where if the client has, let's say, straight hair, I might even be able to do a free-handed fade altogether, which is the ultimate efficient haircut, which means no guards and no crazy steps. So you guys can see here, I'm just going in with the corner of my blades, identifying some of those darker spots and fading them out. And then to finish off the beard fade as well, I'm going ahead and doing the exact same step just on the beard. It is also important that you guys notice I'm kind of going in different directions on the beard, and that's because his beard, especially around on his right side, grows in different directions. So you want to keep that in mind and make sure that when you're doing your fade and when you're doing your clipper work, you want to keep in mind whether you're going with or against the direction of the hair growth. Obviously, when you go against, you're going to cut more. When you go with the grain, you're going to cut less. And the last step here to make sure this fade is nice and smooth, we're going to with our clipper over comb, like I said at the beginning of the video, just to smooth out the transition into the top. You guys can see I'm not really cutting much here, and I'm just using my clipper a little bit to make sure that that is as smooth as possible. And you guys can see I'm just laying the bottom of the comb or the spine of the comb on the head, and then tilting out the teeth as I need to. And then obviously we're going to give him a quick lineup. He doesn't want anything super sharp, so you guys can see we're keeping it pretty natural, not going really pushing him back or anything like that. And I like to start in the middle and then kind of work my way to each side. This way I have a bit of a guide to go with. You guys can see here I actually didn't comb his hair down. I combed it, or I pushed it up with my hand, and that's because as he grows out his hair, that's how he likes to style it. So because I've been cutting him for a long time, I know that, and I can adjust that to his preference, right? This is very important because you guys sometimes will have a client sit in your chair and you're so focused on getting him the objectively good haircut or the technically good haircut or the haircut that looks best on Instagram versus the haircut that this person actually wants and the way that they if they have a certain goal in terms of how they want their hair to grow out or how they want to style their hair in the future. All right, so that is the after. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.